Hi everybody, welcome to another card video. Today's Canada Day here in Canada, and I just wanted to say hope everybody's enjoying this lovely day and happy birthday Canada. So to get started today, we're going to be focusing on the new in colors that Stampin' Up! Has this year. Every 2 years they bring out a new set of in colors, so this is what this particular video and post is about. So this is the Dapper Denim, which is the new blue that they brought out for this year. It's a really nice navy color. Looks a lot like a good color for jeans. The next one is Emerald Envy, which is a nice Kelly green color, nice and bright. Flirty Flamingo, which is a new pink color. You can see it's quite pink. It looks very close to Pepto-Bismol, if you know what that is. I love this Sweet Sugar Plum color. Such a nice baby purple color. It goes so nice with the rich raspberry. And then there's this peach color, Peekaboo Peach. It's really nice, subtle, and it fits so well with both oranges and the more reddy peaches. Okay, so we're going to actually be making this card today. I decided why not make another green one. Not really a color of my choice, but it's nice and bright, and I think with the yellow it's a really nice complement. So to get started, you're going to need a piece of Whisper White cardstock that is 3 3/4 by 5.5. So this is going to be our top panel, which we're actually going to make into designer paper. We are going to be using the stamp set Penned and Painted, which is new to the catalog this year. You can see it's like a sketchy stamp, and it is also one of the two-step stamping sets. And I'll explain to you what that is and how it works as we go along. So you can see this is Photopolymer, which makes it see-through. Really nice stamp to use, but remember you're going to need your Stampin' mat or some sort of mouse pad under there to help give you a bit of compression. And then the stamp set we're going to be using for the sentiment is a retired one that I really liked just because the sentiment was very simple, birthday wishes. And this is the Occasional Quotes, which was a hostess set from a few years back. So those are the two sets we're going to be using. The colors of ink we're going to be using are Pear Pizzazz for the leaves, a little bit of Daffodil Delight for the center of the flowers, Emerald Envy for the flowers themselves, and then of course the archival black ink by Stampin' Up! For the outlines and the sentiment. So let's get started on stamping our back panel. So what you're going to need is a piece of scrap paper. So you can see here, this is one that I've already started working on. And basically, because this is a two-step stamping set, you are going to have to be aware of the different layers that you're working with. A good tip to remember is that the largest, most solid portion of the stamp is going to be your lightest image, and the smaller portions of the stamp are going to be your darker images. If you reverse them, then the other will not show up on top. So we need to make sure that this one is the most lightest color. Now, because I wanted to focus only on this particular in color, I've decided just to use the stamping off method of stamping, which I don't think I've shown you guys before. So I'm just going to open up my ink pad and put it up here to the top. So I'm going to start off with my most solid stamp. So for this, I'm going to stamp it well into the ink pad, and then on my paper on the side, I'm going to stamp it off. Okay, that removes most of the color. So let me do that, and there you go. Now just be aware of this little tab. That's going to help you to line up the second layer. So I'm going to start with this in the middle, roughly. Okay, and you see it's a much lighter impression than the full-on green color. And then I'm going to twist it slightly and stamp again. Now you don't want to fill up the whole panel with this big flower. You're going to want to spread it over so that it gets a few. So I'll start with 3 of that one, and then I'm going to use this more lanky one. Again, I'm going to stamp into my ink pad, stamp off on my paper, and then stamp onto my panel. Just like that. And it's okay if some of them come off of the panel. What you don't want to happen is overlap. And you also don't want to make this too busy because you want some white in the background. It helps to even out all of the colors. So as you can see there, I might just put a couple little ones over there, stamp it off. All right, there we go. That's basically my panel. And as you can see, there's a lot of white space. So now I'm done with the 2 solid stamps. So I'm going to put those over to the side for now. And now I'm going to use the interior ones. Now on the stamp set, they quite clearly mark which one goes with which. So this one goes with the larger flower and the other one goes with the smaller flower or the more lanky flower. This one is going to be full intensity, and this is where this tab comes in important. In this particular stamp set, I know where it is the most open. So just excuse my head if you see it, and it doesn't matter if it matches perfectly. So I'm going to twist this as I stamp so that I can get the best impression possible. Just like that. Okay, so we're done with that guy. And then now the lankier one. Now all you want to make sure is that you're not pressing too hard with this either, because you don't want to ink up and get the impression of the tab as well, because that just doesn't work out very well. And then for these guys, really, we're just looking for a little bit of dimension. We'll turn it this way, or maybe that way. There we go. Okay, so that's basically the flowers themselves. The next thing we're going to deal with is the centers. So the stamp set comes with a wee little yellow center that we have right here. So I'm just going to ink it up, and I'm going to fill in most of this center with this yellow color. It's a nice contrast to the green, especially if someone was a lover of yellow and green. Just like that. So that's basically the flower center. Now the last thing we're going to need for these flowers is the archival ink to give that nice, well, penned scribbled image on the outside. So with this, you have to remember this ink pad is a felt pad. So you really do got to give it some force when you're inking it up. So again, lining up my tab, twisting it slightly to keep that lined up. If it's not exact, not a big deal. At least not to me. You can be more exact when you do your own. So that's the large one. And now here's the narrower one, or the so for this here, just to line it up as best you can. Whoop. Okay, we're going with that. I'm fine with that. Not a great impression, but the great thing about these, you can line them up. That's fine by me. So this one here, just like that. And then over here, just like that. And then like that. Now look at that. Doesn't that look nice? Now to fill in some of the white space, just to give it a bit of another contrast with some yellow, I'm just going to go in with this little flower stamp and basically just put a few in. Again, I don't want anything to overlap, and I don't want too many of them. Some of them can fall off the page. Okay, so just like that. So I'm going to put this panel aside and let it dry. I'm going to pull in a piece of scrap Whisper White. Because we have this one flower that is popped up on the card, I'm going to want to stamp this one on a separate piece so I can cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that really quickly. Again, the solid stamp, stamp it off, stamp it once. Now if I get that tab, not a big deal, because I'm not going to be using the whole card. I'm just going to cut out what I need from it. So that'll be cut off. There's that. Now here, I happen to forget the center. That's okay. Good thing about this, just go back in and boom, there you go. Can't even tell. I do like to do all my light colors first, followed by my dark colors, but it's really not a big deal. Now for the petals, I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the solid petals and I'm going to stamp them off, and I'm going to stamp them beside it. And then this inlay, or the second step, that's going to be the full intensity of the Pear Pizzazz. Finally followed by this nice crisp black outline, just like that. Now, through the magic of television and my preparation, I have already stamped and cut out these flowers because I figured you guys didn't want to watch me while I fussy cut this. So let me just put these ink pads over to the side so I don't put my hands in them, which is not unusual for me. Sometimes it happens. And then I'm going to pull in those pieces I'd stamped previously. So you're going to notice this green is a little lighter because as it dries back into this paper, the Whisper White, it will lighten up a little bit. So the next thing I'm going to need here is my Wink of Stella pen. For those of you who don't know what a Wink of Stella pen is, basically it's a very fine glitter pen that you can just use to add some shine, very fine shine, to your cards without adding a 3D element. So I love this because it shows up so nicely on these darker colors. And I'm going to put a little bit here. Oh, we can hear somebody starting their lawnmower, really, after all the rain we've had. Don't know how that's going to work out. Now notice that it picks up some of the color. I'm just going to wash it off on the paper, and there you go. Your Wink of Stella pen is good to go. This lasts a really long time. Okay, and even when it runs out, you can pull out the barrel, put in a few drops of water, shake it up again, and you're good to go for a little while again. Now I didn't put any Wink of Stella on the leaves, just on the blooms themselves. I'm going to put them over to the side to let them dry. And then the next thing I'm going to do is stamp my sentiment. So I'm going to pull in this piece of Whisper White. It's 8.5 by a 1/2 inch because I didn't know if I was going to do a vertical card or a horizontal card, and I still don't know. So I need to set up my paper just in case I pick either direction. So this is my sentiment. It's just a birthday wishes, and as you can see, it already has the foam attached to it, so I don't need my foam underneath it, so I can put that over to the side. I'm going to pull in my basic black, and I'm going to give this a good ink, just like that. And then excuse me if you see my head again. I just want a really nice impression, just like that. So if you notice on my card, it's flagged. So in order to do that, we do have a flag punch, a banner punch by Stampin' Up, but I find that it's a little too big to do something this fine. So with this, I'm just going to take the side I want to flag. I'm going to cut up in the middle, and then I'm going to come from each corner to that middle point. And just like that, you have your flag. So that's taken care of. Now put that aside, make sure it dries well. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to pull in the pieces to make the card so that we can put it together, because basically there's not much left after this point. I'm going to put my paper to the side. I'm going to show you what I have here. So of course I have my little tag that says an original handmade card by Klieber. I have the insert, which is just a piece of white cardstock for writing, 4 inches by 5 1/4. Okay. And then I have my Daffodil Delight, again 4 inches by 5 1/4, and my Emerald Envy card base, which is 8.5 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. And I don't know if you guys can see the score line very well, but I always like the bump to be to the inside. So I'm going to burnish that with my fingers. And I'm going to bring in my Daffodil Delight piece, and I'm going to put a little bit of snail on the back. And we will just basically lay this into the center. Now I'm going to wait on the insert and this part until I decide if my card is going to be horizontal or vertical. So at this point I'm going to pull my panel back in, and I'm going to decide which way I'd like my card. And I actually think that I like it facing up like this. So this will be another horizontal card, but because I've got this long white space here, I think that's where I'm going to put my sentiment. So to start with this, I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to grab my dimensionals. And the great thing about this, it's exactly the same width. So I'm going to put about 4, about a 1/2 inch across, just like that. And then I'm going to pull off these little backer sheets, which are all over my studio and in my house. And then just going to lay it down like that. Now you're going to have this length piece that is too long. You're just going to trim it down just like that. Okay, now it depends how much you've got hanging here. You might need another dimensional. Mine seems fine. And then before I put this on my card, I'm just going to double check that everything is adhered and then make sure that this fits, because the last time I did this, I had actually cut my panel too large. So look at that, perfect size. So I'm going to turn it over and put my panel on the front. Make sure that it's right side up, just like that. And then I'm going to put my insert in, and because this is going to be a horizontal card, I'm just going to put some adhesive across the top. I think this is professional and finishes off the card. I don't like writing on colored cardstock. And then with my handmade by, I'm going to stick that on the back here with my Stampin' Up! Copyright. Oh! Caught me. All right, let's see. Oh, slowly, slowly. Okay, we're good. All right, there we go. Now you could have just left it, but being who I am, I can't do that. Now the next thing you're going to do is bring in your flower that you cut out and the leaves, and actually I put that on the wrong side, so you're going to put a little bit adhesive on the leaves themselves. And then you're just going to pop them up underneath your card, underneath your flower, just like so. Then you're going to add a few more dimensionals on the back. Bring those back in here. I usually go with 4. I don't like for my elements to flop or bend, especially in the summertime when the humidity is high. It can cause the cardstock to warp a little bit. So I always make sure I've got good dimension on the back of these. And I can now decide where I'd like to position this. Like that, maybe like these. Actually, I think I like that. Oh, look at that. Isn't that nice? And it's okay if it overlaps a few of the other ones. Now, of course, nothing is complete in Michelle's world without a bit of bling. So I'm going to pull in my rhinestones that are here on a strip. And over time, I've gotten pretty proficient with using these. You just use just scissors and cut off a few. Now, I like groups of 3, so that's what I'm going to do. And just like that, our card is finished. So this is a pretty simple card. Easy to mass produce, especially in different colors. And you can see that just that little bit of shimmer adds so much to this card. So again, the colors, here they are all together. You can see they go very nicely together, and they also look lovely with some of the other Stampin' Up! Colors. If you check out my blog, you can see it there. But before we go, I just wanted to share with you this. My dad just came in and brought me these fresh raspberries, the first of the season from the berry tree. And as you can see, they're not so pretty, but they're super sweet. And if summer tasted like anything, I think that they would taste like these raspberries. So I hope you'll subscribe to my blog and to my YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email. All my information is on my blog. So I hope you all have a wonderful Canada Day. Take care and see you next time.